Hello, guys. What is going on? Once again, this is the Club of the Man 1993 coming at you for the twenty-ninth edition of this Royal Rumble match recap and review retro series. As we are nearing the end, very close to the end, almost done. We are on the twenty-ninth of 30 Royal Rumble matches we have had so far in WWE history up to this day, January 18th, 2018. We're the 31st and 32nd one, since there's going to be a women's and men's Royal Rumble match this year taking place on Sunday, January 28th, 2018. So we're 10 days away from the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. And I should be finishing this series either tonight or tomorrow. So we're going to talk about now the 2016 Royal Rumble match. This was a different type of Royal Rumble match, though. This was not the one we've had since 1993, where you would get a title opportunity at WrestleMania. This time, the WWE World Heavyweight Championship was on the line in the Royal Rumble match. I wasn't that big of a fan of this at first when it happened. I mean, after it happening, I was all right with it being the case. But of course, this is around the time where Roman Reigns was starting his feud with Triple H, even though he had somewhat been for the past few years. Triple H was always after the Shield, trying to not make them like they're the top guys in the company because they would not adapt to what he wanted. So I feel like they only did this just to give Roman Reigns into the Royal Rumble match itself, because they can't have Roman out of the Royal Rumble match, unfortunately. But despite all that, despite some nitpicks I will be talking about in this review, this to me, since I've only been watching WWE full time since 2013, even after watching all these Rumbles, I still have my favorites. 1992 was awesome, 1998, 2001, 2005, the end of 2007, 2010 was pretty good, 2013, I mean, that wasn't amazing, but it was special because that was the first ever Rumble I watched. And 2014's was the one that was in Pittsburgh, so I got to attend that live. 2015, of course, y'all know where that one holds a special place in my heart. But 2016, out of all the Rumbles I've seen for the first time when they were live for the first time, this one has to be my favorite. This Rumble match, despite the outcome and what it led down the line for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, this was still a very fun match. A lot of great things happened in this match. Some storytelling, set up some angles for what we would see eventually. One, of course, though, didn't fall through, though, in the end, unfortunately. But I gotta say, especially from 2015, much better of a Royal Rumble. Not the best one. I'd say it may be in the top 15, top 10 all time. But to me, it's one of my favorite Royal Rumbles of all time, I'd say. So let's get right into it. This Royal Rumble took place on January 24th, 2016 at the Amway Center in Orlando, Florida, and the stipulation was the WWE World Heavyweight Championship was on the line as Roman Reigns was the champion. He would enter at number 1. At number 2 was Rusev, which this is when the League of Nations were around. Remember those guys? The League of Nations? Yeah, not a good stable at all, unfortunately, because this is around time also there were a ton of huge names on the shelf for the WWE, so they had little to play around with. So they formed a stable with guys like Sheamus, King Barrett, Alberto Del Rio, who had just returned to WWE in 2015 at Hell in a Cell. He would leave again later this year, and Rusev. Sheamus, who was not booked well at all since he returned after WrestleMania and turned heel, and he became Money in the Bank, but they didn't book him well as Money in the Bank, so him cashing on Roman Reigns didn't feel that special. Alberto Del Rio, he's never really been, the big Mexican superstar they'd hoped for. King Barrett, I mean, we all love Bad News Barrett, but as King Barrett, he was flat. And Rusev just wasn't being booked well at all at this time, unfortunately. So they were also known, as my friends call them, the League of Jobbers. Now, they were kind of more so Vince McMahon's henchmen to get Reigns out of this Royal Rumble match. Of course, to start off with Reigns eliminating Rusev immediately. So Reigns is still in the ring. And here comes a big one. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Number 3 comes out. The music plays. And I didn't recognize the music at first. And Roman Reigns looked confused as well. I was like, huh? Like, what is this? But then I heard the crowd cheer, and I'm like, what's going on here? Now, keep in mind, I had not watched any TNA before this at all. But I heard rumors about this man coming, and I was expecting big things from him. And I was excited. Number 3 was the phenomenal, the current WWE champion on the house that AJ Styles built. SmackDown Live, AJ Styles made his WWE debut at number 3 in this Royal Rumble match to a huge pop. And him being number 3, was a good choice, and I thought they gave him a good enough time and a good showing. They didn't, go all out on him this night, but they slowly had us grow on him over time. And by the fall of this year, he was the WWE champion. Had a great run with it, and he's having a good run as well this time around with the championship. He has two, as he is coming up on facing Owens and Zayn in a handicap match at the Royal Rumble coming up this year. But AJ Styles came out number 3 to a great pop. He got him and Roman got some offense on each other. Number 4 was Tyler Breeze. We all know Tyler Breeze was just being booked like crap. So he came in number 4. There was a nice, counter by Styles and Reigns to eliminate him as well. I remember it was pretty sick looking. Number 5. Now here's an error that Wikipedia made last year. Last year, Wikipedia said that Curtis Axel was in the Royal Rumble match for nearly 3 years. He never entered the match. He never got eliminated. But he was in this Royal Rumble match and he got eliminated. So Wikipedia was off there. Sorry. But Curtis Axel came out, and this is when he was a part of that other little jobber group called the Social Outcasts. It was him, Adam Rose, Heath Slater, and Bo Dallas, which they didn't last long at all. They pretty much just split them up quietly when it came to Adam Rose was released by WWE right before the summer of this year, and then we had Slater go to. Slater had to fight for his job to go to SmackDown, but then Dallas and Axel both went to Raw. But yeah, the Social Outcasts were a brief group. But Curtis Axel came out, but of course he didn't last long at all as the Outcasts tried to, interfere in the match. So Reigns and Styles were busy taking them all out. I remember Adam Rose got hit with like a Superman punch or something, did a really nice backflip off of the apron. Of course, they were also wearing shades too, so I'm sure some of those got broken too. But Axel would then get eliminated by AJ Styles. Number 6 was Chris Jericho, who was, he just returned at the beginning of this year. He was slowly on the verge of turning heel, as he did tease a heel turn when he came back for one night at a Night of Champions when he teamed up with Ambrose and Reigns against the Wyatt family, and then he kind of pulled a heel move, but they never really capitalized on it. But he came back. He was a face briefly. He was a face for his first 3 matches against Styles, and then when he teamed up Wyatt to AJ, he turned on him. So this is right before Jericho turned heel and would eventually go on one of the best runs of his career. And the list of Jericho was born, I should also point out. But he came out number 6. Number 7 was Kane. And I noticed at this point also, the ring was full of a bunch of baby faces at this point. For a while, we had a bunch of baby faces in this match for the most part, because Kane was a baby face here, as he did return at Night of Champions in 2015 also to target Seth Rollins after Rollins had taken him out with that ankle injury, and of course that terrible ankle. But I was glad at least see him back as Demon Kane and Corporate Kane. My gosh, I can't stand Corporate Kane. But he came out number 7, which registers also his record 17th straight Royal Rumble match. Was he in last year's? No, I don't think he was in last year's Royal Rumble. So this is his 17th. This is the last Royal Rumble that Kane was in. So I don't think he's going to be in the one this year because he's in that triple threat match for the Universal Championship. Don't care about that match. Number 8 was Goldust. Number 9 was Ryback. So still a bunch of baby faces. We have Reigns, Styles, Jericho, Kane, Goldust, and Ryback. 6 baby faces at the time. This is also Ryback's final Royal Rumble match as well. Finally, a heel, number 10, was the New Day. This is before the New Day turned babyface at that Cutting Edge Peep Show segment, that disappointing one at Fastlane. But the New Day were still heels. This was Kofi Kingston entering the Royal Rumble match. Of course, Kofi's got to do something goofy, as well as it already has been. Number 11 was Titus O'Neil, who was a babyface. Again, a ton of babyfaces in this match. Probably because they were trying to surround Reigns with babyfaces, that way no one would be booing. O'Neil would eliminate Goldust. Number 12 was R-Truth. This is where R-Truth was doing that stupid gimmick where he would always mess things up. He came out thinking that they were in a ladder match for a contract or something. So he comes out, he pulls out a ladder, sets up in the middle. Everyone's looking at him like, what are you nuts? And he goes up, and funny thing also is I remember the year before when he was in the Intercontinental Championship ladder match at WrestleMania, they claimed there that R-Truth's afraid of heights. But he had no problem climbing this ladder getting to the top rows. There's nothing there. So Kane then threw out Truth, and he threw out the ladder. So goodbye, Truth. And then Kofi Kingston was tossed, but he landed on Big E's shoulders. So he was pretty much riding on Big E's shoulders for a little bit as New Day were walking around. This is also around the time when New Day were on the run in the middle of their, well, probably about in the middle or still in the early days. No, I'm sorry, probably halfway through or close to of their tag title reign, which started at SummerSlam the year before. Of course, the New Day were so much more better than they were last year. Because last year they were just a bunch of clowns to me, in my opinion. But this is where New Day finally found their niche, and they were on their way to greatness. Number 13 was Luke Harper, and last year the Y family wasn't together. This year the Y family was together for this Rumble match, and they had a fourth member as well, which we will discuss him very shortly, as he comes in very soon. Also, number 13 was Harper, and here's something I didn't quite like about this Rumble match. The League of Nations came back out. Well, there was no Barrett. I think Barrett was also dealing with some nagging injuries during this time also. But the League of Nations came out, and they pulled Roman out of the match, but they pulled him underneath the bottom rope and attacked him to take him out of the match, even though he would return later. I wasn't that big of a fan of him just being pulled out and returning later, but the thing that I didn't get, though, was if they were trying to take him out of the match, why didn't they pull him over the top rope? But first, instead of just pulling him underneath, like, I didn't like how they did that. Like if you're trying to take him out of the match so badly, legitimately eliminate him. Or you could have done it whenever, like, Rusev was in the match or something. Well, I mean, you could have had Del Rio be number 2 and Reigns eliminate him like he was a nobody, like he did the Rusev. Like, I would have much rather had that, and then maybe Rusev be in the match and take out Roman, and then they beat him down from there. So I would have rather had that happen. Also have Roman actually be eliminated from the match if they were going to take the title away from him. Because honestly, they did that, and whoever waited the championship was won at the end. I would have been completely cool with that. But I just so you're just taking him to the back just for the heck of it, have him relax. But he was in there for almost an hour to begin with. I wasn't quite a big of a fan of how that happened. But yeah, that happened. Number 14 was Stardust. Number 15 was Big Show, who I can't remember. I know it was around the time where Big Show did turn face again. When he with the Wyatts for Fastlane. Don't want to talk about that match though, because that was terrible for the Wyatt family. I don't know if Big Show was still a face or if he was a heel at this time. It was right around the time where he did turn. But he would come in there and he would already eliminate Titus O'Neil and Ryback. So already I'm thinking, oh, don't do this again to us. Please don't do this again. Number 16 was Neville. This is Neville's only Royal Rumble match, unfortunately, as this may be the only one since he hasn't come back yet after walking out after No Mercy. So we'll see what happens with Neville. But around this time, Kofi was still hanging on Big E's shoulders, but Jericho would drop kick him, I believe, to knock him off Big E's shoulders to eliminate him. Number 17, making his Royal Rumble debut, Braun! This was long before those days. This is when Braun Strowman was just a green Y family member who just wasn't really that impressive at the time until after the brand split, they gave him the new look, his own theme music, and made him a single star, and now look where he is now. Can't believe how much he's improved, though, so much ever since these days. But Braun came out at number 17. He would eliminate both Strowman he would eliminate both Kane and the Big Show. So thank goodness they weren't, stealing the show and dumping people out, like taking the trash out this year. Number 18 in his first Royal Rumble match as well was Kevin Owens, who wrestled at the beginning of the show against Dean Ambrose in an Intercontinental Championship Last Man Standing match. A very awesome match, I shall say. Besides the Royal Rumble match, this was probably the best match on that show. If you haven't seen it, go back and watch it. Dean Ambrose and Kevin Owens, last man standing for the Intercontinental Championship. An awesome match. I highly recommend it. He would get in there, and of course, the right person to do so, to a person making their debut, he eliminated AJ Styles, which that was good to give more heat on Owens, since Styles was doing. He was probably the hottest name in the match at the time, and just I thought it was the right move to eliminate. To have Kevin Owens to eliminate AJ Styles. And again, they gave Styles about almost 30 minutes in there for a first Rumble match. Again, they didn't burn us out with him right away, but they gave us a good showing. So I was happy that happened. So Styles was eliminated. Number 19 was the Intercontinental Champion Dean Ambrose, who, like Owens, came out selling that they were both beat up from earlier in the night. Number 20 was a surprise entrant from NXT. Now I was kind of hoping this was guy would be here, but Sami Zayn making his first appearance in the Royal Rumble match, and I popped when he came out. And great storytelling moment. He went right after Kevin Owens, who they have unfinished business from NXT, as Owens, had written Zayn off television because of his injury. And Owens wanted to be champion and come to the main roster way before Zayn did. So he got into the ring. He brawled with Owens. They stayed on top of each other until Zayn eliminated Owens. There we go. Storytelling right there. It set up the stakes for them to have to continue their feud when Zayn came to the main roster about a month or two later, full time. I like that as well. That was another good thing about this Rumble. Number 21 was Eric Rowan. So there's 3 members now of the Y family in there. Rowan would then eliminate Neville, and then Harper will name Stardust. At least, the Y family altogether as a whole did have a dominating performance, not just really Bray in this match, but it was more so the other 3. Unfortunately, though, it didn't lead to good things for them down the road, I shall say, unfortunately. But they had Rowan eliminate Neville and Harper eliminate Stardust. Number 22 was Mark Henry, but he didn't last long at all because Mark Henry doesn't do good at all in the Rumble matches. He was eliminated by the 3 members of the Wyatt family are in there. And then Harper would then eliminate Sami Zayn. So it was good seeing Sami Zayn for the time he was in there. Number 23, for the second time in his career, was the Beast Incarnate, Brock Lesnar. He came out number 23. He would eliminate Eric Rowan, which this is an angle also, which actually I'll wait until we get to that. But he eliminates Eric Rowan. Number 24 was Jack Swagger. He only lasted a couple seconds until Lesnar eliminated him. Number 25 was The Miz. But instead of getting into the ring, The Miz goes on commentary talking. Obvious he didn't want to get into the ring because of Brock Lesnar being in there, and somewhat Braun Strowman. But Braun Strowman wasn't built up to be a legitimate threat yet at this time. But he was on commentary saying, "I'm looking for the right opportunity to go." It was obvious he was afraid of Lesnar. But of course, The Miz being the great heel on the mic he is, we can at least, appreciate that for it is. It's like he's saying, I keep slowly becoming more of a fan of The Miz because of how much truth is in his promos. So he was on commentary. Lesnar would then eliminate Harper. Number 26 was League of Nations member Alberto Del Rio, who this was to be his last Royal Rumble match, unless he decides to come back again, which I highly doubt that's going to happen. And then Brock would then eliminate Braun Strowman. But after that, that's when number 27 hit, and it was Bray Wyatt. Now, right before the Royal Rumble at the Go Home show, they were teasing a match between Bray Wyatt and Brock Lesnar, as they would have Wyatt, resurrect his other three brothers. They would get in there and attack Lesnar. At first, either they're already eliminated, Lesnar would have thrown him out of the ring, go face to face with Bray, and as he's about to hit an F5 on Bray, the Wyatt family got back in there and saved Bray. They hit Sister Abigail on Lesnar, and then the 3 members of the Wyatt family, 3 of the members of the Wyatt family would then eliminate him thanks to the orders by Bray Wyatt. So it was supposed to be, I think it was supposed to be Bray Wyatt and Brock Lesnar first WrestleMania, but then they pulled the plug on it for some reason because they had to lose to Ryback Kane and the Big Show at Fastlane, which that was awful, and then just get buried by The Rock at WrestleMania. Even though they were about to turn them babyface after WrestleMania until Bray Wyatt got hurt and they brought them back as heels. Unfortunate that happened, but yeah, Lesnar was out of the match. Number 28 was Dolph Ziggler. Since Lesnar and Strowman were gone, The Miz entered the match. Number 29 was Sheamus, who had just gone off that terrible run as champion before Roman Reigns won off of him the night after TLC. But this is when Reigns makes his return. He would attack Sheamus before entering the ring. He eliminated Del Rio, then The Miz. And then we're getting ready for number 30. And number 30 was kind of expected, but Triple H, for the first time since 2010, had entered the Royal Rumble match. He stared down with Reigns. We had not seen Triple H, well, on the main roster at least, because I think we saw him once or twice down in NXT. But Triple H makes his return for the first time since Roman Reigns had beaten down on him at TLC in 2015. So they have a stare down, and then they pretty much it was to do their finishers on somebody else just to show off, saying this is what I'm made of. So I think Triple H hit his pedigree on Ziggler, and then they had Reigns hit the spear on Wyatt, and then they started going at each other for a little bit. Dolph almost eliminated Triple H once or twice. I thought he was going to have him with a couple super kicks here on him, but then Triple H would then eliminate Dolph. But then later on also, actually, whatever day it was in 2016, March, whatever it was when Raw was in Pittsburgh, I got to see the match between Triple H and Dolph Ziggler. A long overdue match. I felt that should have happened, especially with what happened at Survivor Series. But it was good to see Triple H wrestle on Raw and see him in action in person. So I did think him and Dolph had a pretty darn good match that episode of Raw. But Triple H would eliminate Dolph, and then Bray Wyatt and Triple H had a stare down. So Triple H was like telling Bray, hey, I need you to take him out. But then Bray Wyatt didn't listen to him, and he started beating down on Triple H. But then Sheamus would then revive, save Triple H, as Sheamus would be part of the Authority out of nowhere because the League they didn't have anybody else to be part of the Authority army since they had the League of Nations. But Sheamus and Triple H did team up to eliminate Bray Wyatt. And then Chris Jericho had still been in the match, but then Ambrose eliminated him. So the final four were Roman, Sheamus, Ambrose, and Triple H. So it's pretty much, the two baby faces taking on the two heel Authority members, pretty much. Sheamus did go for a bro kick on Ambrose, but he would then get stuck on the apron. Reigns and Superman punched him out of there down to 3, but then immediately Triple H from behind dumped Reigns out and did the whole suck it thing to him. So Roman Reigns is out of the match. So we knew we were definitely going to be having a new WWE World Heavyweight Champion. So it was the Intercontinental Champion Dean Ambrose and Triple H in there. I thought it was a good, 1-2 finish as well for them. Just had those two finish the matchup. But unfortunately, we were pulling for Ambrose to win. Came up a little bit short. Came close to eliminating Triple H like once or twice, but then Triple H would hit a back body drop or whatever heck it is on Ambrose to eliminate him. And Triple H not only wins the Royal Rumble match for the second time in his career, but he wins his 14th championship, world championship. He becomes the new WWE World Heavyweight Champion. Now, I will be honest, it is strange that they gave it to Triple H. I mean, even though he was feuding with Roman Reigns, and we all know where that went, they pretty much just handed Reigns an opportunity the following night on Raw, even though they said at the beginning of the show he will not get any opportunities as long as Triple H is champion, which, again, that feud just went downhill big time. It could have been a good feud. I would have liked this scene happen, though. Again, the League of Nations, when they took out Reigns earlier in the match, they should have just literally taken him over the top rope or something like that and take him out of the match. And if Triple H would have just returned and just, beaten everybody else, like Ambrose being the final ones, then cool. That would have been a good way to, tell a story. But also, my opinion, I didn't think that the Triple H and Roman Reigns storyline really needed to have the title in it. Because with the title in it, it felt too obvious that Reigns was going to be winning the match. Have it be like, just like a no disqualification match. Because it was just, because, Reigns had already accomplished the feat of, gaining the championship through the obstacles of all the McMahons were thrown at him. They didn't need to have the championship. I would have rather have it just, been Triple H and Roman Reigns selling their personal differences rather than just having the championship involved. Because it's just a shame, because it was a match I've been wanting to see ever since the Shield and Evolution feud back in 2014. And it could have been a good story, but unfortunately, it did not work out well. But again, it will not take away the fact that I did really enjoy this Royal Rumble match. From the debut of AJ Styles, the stuff with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, Triple H being in again was still fun. Chris Jericho being in there, I liked that stuff as well. The Wyatt family looking good for one night, even though they ended up being like crap a little while later. But we still had a lot of good happen in this Royal Rumble match, and I really did enjoy it. Big step up from last year. So before I give you my overall grade, let's just go over the numbers, of course, as always. So we started off with the champion, Roman Reigns, number 1, 59-48, despite being sitting out for about half an hour. 5 eliminations. Rusev at number 2, minute 30, no eliminations. AJ Styles making his debut at number 3, 28-58, 2 eliminations. Very good showing for him in his first night. Tyler Breeze, minute 18, no eliminations. Curtis Axel, minute 30, no eliminations. Chris Jericho, number 6, 51-20, 1 elimination. Kane, 1907, 1 elimination. Goldust, 618, no eliminations. Ryback, 1237, no eliminations. Again, this will be Ryback's final Royal Rumble match. Kofi Kingston, 826, no eliminations. Titus O'Neil, 906, 1 elimination. R-Truth, 59 seconds, no eliminations. Luke Harper, 24-16, 3 eliminations. Nice showing by Harper. Stardust, 14-12, no eliminations. Big Show, number 15, 458, 2 eliminations. Neville, number 16, 10-17, no eliminations. Braun Strowman, 1801, 5 eliminations. Kevin Owens, 458, 1 elimination. Dean Ambrose, 2957, 1 elimination. Sami Zayn from NXT, number 20, 455 with 1 elimination. Eric Rowan, number 21, 435, 2 eliminations. Mark Henry, 47 seconds, no eliminations. Brock Lesnar, 931, 4 eliminations. Jack Swagger, 15 seconds, no eliminations. The Miz, 855, no eliminations. Alberto Del Rio, 702, no eliminations. Bray Wyatt, 1125 with no eliminations. Dolph Ziggler, 710, no eliminations. Sheamus, 846, 1 elimination. And number 30 was Triple H, 903, 4 eliminations. And Triple H again won this match, becoming the new WWE World Heavyweight Champion. The longest time was Roman Reigns, of course, with 59 minutes and 48 seconds, nearly an hour. Most eliminations were a tie between Reigns and Strowman with 5 apiece, and the total time of this match was an hour and 1 minute and 42 seconds. Now, I noticed out of the 15 Rumble, Rusev and Wyatt did get a good showing, but again, just the way they were dumped out, how they led to absolutely nothing for them, the support booking, I still gave that Rumble an F. This Rumble, again, we had some plot holes in there, a couple of them, but to me, it was still one of the better executed Rumbles I've definitely seen, in my time at least. So because of that, I'm still going to give this Royal Rumble match a pretty darn good grade. I'm going to give the 2016 Royal Rumble match a B+. A B+ for the 2016 Royal Rumble match. What grade would you give this episode this Royal Rumble match? Leave your thoughts down in the comment section below, and be sure as always to click that like and subscribe for more content on this channel, and follow me on Twitter at TheMainAirboy93. We got one more Rumble left before this series is wrapped up, and I'll be getting it done in a week ahead of time before the Royal Rumble of 2018 with the men and women's Royal Rumble matches. So stay tuned, guys, as I'll watch 2017 Rumble once again, and I'll review that as well. I'll probably get that up tonight also, so we'll wrap this series up tonight. So thank you guys again for tuning in, and be sure to keep a lookout for that last retro recap and review video for this Royal Rumble series. So until then, guys, have a great night.